Captain Picard, Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
My Readier Room.
Hello and welcome to the Readier Room, the only, longest running, and finest Star Trek The Next Generation rewatch podcast. Every week we're bringing you stories live, previously recorded from the set of what happened during production. My name is Mitchell Mells, Chief Consultant Services at Paramount, and with me is my life partner Brandon Hobbs. Brandon, how are you doing on this fine day?
Having a bit of a cromulent sort of day, Mitch.
Oh, yes.
But hanging in there.
Well,
Yeah.
you always am big in my day. You know that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That makes me feel a little bit better.
So what has been cromming today?
And let's not get into it.
I know you like to keep your personal life and your private life guarded, separate from each other.
Yes. Well, so, I would consider the two of us to be celebrities of some kind, so I think that's kind of the responsible move, just set a boundary.
Right.
The ensigns, as much as we love the ensigns,
and we do love the ensigns.
We love the ensigns, but there is a line, and just because you listen to someone weekly, possibly more than weekly, on a podcast does not make them your friend.
I would say bi-weekly is the limit, but I know we don't swing that way. So,
Well, it's also inherently difficult to understand what bi-weekly means.
Indeed it is. I had a word a day calendar, and bi-weekly came up twice throughout the year. It was crazy.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I was beside myself when I got to the second bi-weekly. It didn't help that it was twice in the same week.
Wow.
I tickle myself. Good lord. So, I was gonna say something, but I don't quite remember it, which is really a fine trait for a podcast host. As I advance into the more degenerative stages of dementia, the podcast can only grow more interesting.
Yes, at some point we'll forget that it's even a Star Trek podcast.
Yeah, wait, it's a Star Trek podcast?
Yeah, it's a Star Trek podcast. Well, not like the other ones.
Right. We're no orb. Well, but
right.
Who is, really?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Hey, what is your favorite Star Trek podcast that's not ours? I think mine is Two Enterprises and a Microphone. Very strong. A lot of nice banter. I enjoy.
What do they talk about? What do they talk about on that?
It's a podcast entirely about Federation ship construction, logistics, architecture.
Okay.
Yeah, and they do a nice job. See, you might not know this about me, and the ensigns probably don't know it either, but architecture and design specifications are one of my hidden hobbies, my hidden passions. Yes.
Yeah.
Not about, science fiction. I don't really give a shit about that, but in real life.
Right.
And I just like hearing the vocabulary that they use over there when talking about ships. They're like, "Oh, the blueprints." And I said, "Oh, I know those."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it makes me feel smart.
That's cool. So what do you like about architecture in the real world?
Well, architecture in the real world is kind of a very unique form of art, really, because it's the only art that must also be functional, serve a purpose, and be useful to people. Whereas a painting, a sculpture, a song, a collage, those are more aesthetic in nature. And architecture is aesthetic as well, but it has to be balanced with the utility of whatever is being designed, whether it be, you know, a park or a building or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What did you want me to say something funny?
Yeah, kinda.
I'm sorry. What is your favorite Star Trek podcast?
My favorite Star Trek podcast. I'm a big fan of Romulans and Remans.
That's a good one. I know they're a little newer, but I'm into it.
Yeah, they've kind of taken the scene by storm a little bit, you know. Very unique concept. I mean, who I didn't know about the Remans.
Few people do.
Yeah.
It's a nice.
I had absolutely no clue.
It's a nice bridge to the Apocrypha.
Right, and so it's funny because when you go through the Romulan episodes now, it doesn't matter which series it is. There's kind of a whole new level to it. It's
kind of an interesting idea for a podcast to have it basically be a sitcom radio drama of, you know, Romulans and Remans living together. For anybody at home who hasn't seen it, and it's great. It's great. Very funny.
Yeah, and I mean the great thing is that like you can. It's set up in such a way that you can kind of pick out the true like the real facts, the real behind the scenes facts about all this stuff, and it's extremely entertaining at the same time. So,
I buy that. There's a lot of creative people in the Star Trek fandom. You know, not creative enough to work on Star Trek, but creative enough to make their own podcast. Yeah, not like us. So I waste some of my time with Star Trek podcasts now and again. You know, build my social network. I watched a movie about that, by the way.
The Social Network?
Yeah, well, it was about social networks. I guess, yeah. It was directed by David Cage. And it was pretty good. But, you know, whatever. Star Trek fans don't care about social networks. I don't want to get too far off.
Or anything social, really.
Indeed. They are the anti-social. That's a word for it.
Yes. Antisocial.
Antisocial. That's what I said.
Yeah, antisocial.
So, this week, as always, we have a question of the week, and this one is a little special. This one comes from my son. You know, David.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And what he did was he gave me a sealed envelope, which I have here. And let me open this up. Take this out. So this is going to be... It looks like this is addressed to you.
Okay.
So I'll read it. Question of the week from David says, Brendan, do you mind gobbling? I think you spelled your name wrong. It should be Brandon here.
Is that it? That's it? Do you mind gob?
Yeah, he says, I'll fix this. It says, Brandon, do you mind gobbling?
Yep.
Which is, I think he might be missing an object in his sentence, but do you?
Well, that's it. That's all that's on the paper. There's nothing on the back.
Hold on. Let me flip this around here. No, it's just that.
It's almost Thanksgiving. He might be talking about turkeys.
Oh, that's true. But that's kind of
mind gobbling.
That's a strange verbiage, I think.
No, because they gobble. Do you mind gobbling? Maybe he's trying to make fun of me.
Well, I mean, maybe he wants you to produce a turkey gobble, like the sound.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So do you mind?
No, sure. I don't mind gobbling. How was that, David?
He's gonna be very happy with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a strange thing to ask for, but he got it in spades.
Well, I don't know if he knows. This is kind of a funny coincidence. Is that on set they used to call me the Gobbler.
Yeah, and also those sandwiches that they have at the convenience stores. Are you familiar with these?
No.
There's a sandwich. This was after your time on the show, so it might have been inspired by you. I'm not sure, but it's a sandwich based on Thanksgiving, and they call it the Gobbler.
Oh, okay.
Which I believe was also the inspiration for a Batman villain.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, in any case, I was a different kind of gobbler back then, but
but even at the time, I don't think he minded.
No, certainly not.
Well, David, I hope you enjoy this. And let's please come by for dinner sometime. You know, your father misses you just because you're at college doesn't mean we'll talk later. Anyway, yes. So if you're not like David and you can't just give me an envelope with a special question of the week, you at home can always email us at thereadierroom@gmail.com or DM us on Twitter at thereadierroom, and we'll answer your question of the week every week. So please send them in. All right. So this week we're talking about an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Oh yeah, we are.
And this one is from season 2, episode 19? 18?
I lost track 17? Now.
I lost
Definitely
track.
Not 17.
It's something like that, and
it's in that general vicinity, yeah.
Yeah, it's Samaritan Snare, which
Samaritan Snare
to me was a title in desperate need of the word "the." Like, I think the Samaritan Snare would have played a lot better. That
the would serve it quite well.
And kind of a nothing episode.
Yeah. Wow. Just not even just nothing. It's actively bad.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
Which is a shame because it has one good idea of developing the relationship between Picard and Wesley Crusher.
Yeah. But it's just done in the most clumsy way possible.
Yes. I like the result of it. I don't like how we got there, and I completely hate. I don't know if it's the A plot or the B plot. I don't know. They're pretty even.
Yeah. But the dumb aliens.
Yeah.
No.
The dumb aliens who are stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very, very weightless episode.
Yes. Just filled with plot contrivances, and which, I mean, I cannot wait to get into every single one of these, but I'm sure there were multiple points where you as well, watching this episode, were kind of holding your head in your hands and just wondering what the fuck is going on.
It culminates in the ending of that plot thread. Which is the most bizarre resolution to a conflict I've ever seen.
Yes. God, I mean, both resolutions were bizarre.
Just terrible. So, where do you even start with this, I guess? Usually there's something where it's like, oh man, I really want to talk about this.
Yeah, there's something you can hinge. I mean, I guess we just go through it from the start.
What even happens at the start? Picard's like being crabby?
Well, no, we learn that Wesley he has to take his exams again. They're on the bridge, right?
Yes.
I mean, you remember because it had that perspicuously bit in it.
Yes, which was, I guess that is a good place to start, because that's quietly one of the more significant moments on set.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a word even without the context, but yeah, that shot kind of ending this scene, where Data says perspicuously, and Riker kind of looks confused at him, right? That was Frakes' just genuine reaction to the word. He just didn't know what it meant. And basically the issue, and this would continue to happen throughout the series, but we had a scribe on set, and his name was Frank.
We all called him Bartleby.
We did call him Bartleby. That's right. Yeah, he hated it. You remember he'd start like spitting. You know what I mean? Like bubbling the spit out of his mouth.
Foaming, one might say.
Yeah. But his face would get all red. It was it was something. What he would do, and I don't know how he got this job, or if it even was his job, but he would take the final script, and he would pepper in like just these insanely obtuse or difficult words, and have these distributed, and then he would. This was all last minute. He would hang out on set just waiting to catch somebody, right? Someone who didn't know the word that they were supposed to say, and I don't even think he knew these words. I'm pretty sure he just pulled them from the dictionary.
Yeah, I'm sure a thesaurus saw heavy use.
Yeah. Probably both. Yeah, I don't know. All I can say is I'm sure he plays a mean Scrabble.
Yeah, I made sure to make that he never found out about our staff Scrabble nights.
All right. Well, I mean, come on. Let's be real. We can't have someone who's constantly consulting the dictionary.
It's insane to think that that somebody would stoop so low over a game of Scrabble.
It's pretty silly, and it seems like an issue of ego.
Indeed.
You know?
Oh, I can't lose. I can't lose the game. Not to these people.
Right. Yeah, like these people are much stupider than I am. But anyway, I digress. Yes, we start with Wesley learning about his or I don't know. He's talking about how he has to go take some tests, and then Picard is crabby.
Right, and Picard's crabby for different reasons.
Right, not because of a test.
Right, Picard. He might be crabby because of his test, but not a test.
Oh, yeah, that's true. He is getting up there.
But he has heart complications, and he needs to get his artificial heart replaced, something to that effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's I kind of like Picard being crabby here. It's a very human reaction of like, I'm scared of this, but I don't really know how to express this fear, because usually
absolutely
I'm a pretty confident individual.
Yeah, Picard is so sure of himself 99% of the time that it is always interesting to see him struggle with this kind of stuff. And it's funny because it shows you get to see like what is an actual fault on his part, which is that he's got an ego,
Well, that's how they play it up in the episode. Pulaski says, "Oh, you're worried about your image." And at the end, she's like, "You're still the invincible captain." But to me, that's I read that more as her misunderstanding Picard's fear of the situation, of because he's always going on about the mortality rate and it's a routine procedure, and he's trying to console himself. When in actuality, it seems like he was just scared of the possibility of dying in the surgery, rather than it being an ego thing. I think
that could be.
I think the episode and the exchanges between the characters and Picard's temperament make more sense if you think about it that way, and see Pulaski as misreading the situation.
See, I think it makes just as much sense for him to actually have that ego, because, I mean, this guy is someone who's, and they touch upon this in the shuttle. Picard is someone who has given up so much in life, so many alternate routes that could have made him happy or fulfilled him in some way, and I think rising to the top like that kind of affords someone a certain amount of ego.
It does.
And I don't know if the two are necessarily mutually exclusive. You know, the fear of dying. I mean, having a fear of dying, your fear of dying comes entirely from your ego.
I suppose
So-
that makes sense, but
And it could be, you may be right in that it's more skewed towards that than what Pulaski says or what we're led to believe. But I think there's an element of both in there.
perhaps. I just don't like this reading of Picard as being so ego-driven, because what you see of the character never really speaks to that before or ever again, for the most part.
I think when you deal with mortality, especially, is when anyone's ego starts to show. I think more than anything else, really.
Yes.
It's not necessarily that it's like a horrible thing, but I think it shows. I mean, either way, it shows Picard in kind of like a time of weakness, which is interesting.
That is interesting. I agree with you. It's just Picard has been faced with mortality many times before and since this episode, and he never handles it with anything but dignity.
Yeah, but to me, it's different because usually when he's facing those situations, it's from an external force and not his own body. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess there's a few different ways you could interpret it.
There are, and it is good to have a story of Picard grappling with mortality in a less than elegant way. I just wish that the way it was presented wasn't just, this is an insane ego thing and Picard's just flatly in the wrong for it, because he's always presented as being above that.
Yeah, but I mean, no matter how you look at it, he was being stubborn.
Yeah, but he was also completely correct in some ways, because the surgery, almost was fatal, and he was right to be worried about it.
Yeah, but then in the end, of course, who saves him?
Right. Who but?
And look, here's where one of the biggest problems with this episode lies. And it's with this plot where they send Picard out on a 6-hour shuttle ride to a base where he gets surgery from a team of doctors who are not qualified.
Yeah, that was awesome.
To intervene when he's about to die.
That fucking ruled, that scene. It's like, oh, are you not gonna save him? I'm not qualified.
And so now here's the question. Did Pulaski stow away on the shuttle? How did she get there so fast?
No, she was present on the bridge at least once when they were dealing with the other encounter.
Yes, she was. How did she get there?
It begs the question, if the Enterprise could get there so quickly from wherever they were before this,
yeah,
then why didn't they just drop them off in the 5 minutes that would take and then go to whatever their mission was?
Right. Oh my god, just so ridiculous.
So that's a contrivance, but also we have to accept the notion that not only are the team of doctors in the operating room not qualified, there's not a single person at that installation, that hospital, that is qualified, that they have to call in the Enterprise.
Right. So, yes, how do they not have a single person with that kind of training on the entire base? And it seems to be a pretty important base, right? I mean, I don't know if...
Well, Picard's going there explicitly for this surgery. You're not going to call the captain of the Enterprise to go to some podunk fucking third world hospital, It's...
Right. And yet here we are.
Kind of ridiculous.
The very visually striking wardrobe for those doctors, though, huh?
Oh yeah. It's that all was our head of wardrobe. It was his idea entirely. I remember asking him one day, and he just basically told me, "Oh, my wife's on my period on her period," and I kind of filled in the pieces from there.
No, yeah. No, I see it.
Inspiration
definitely
can strike anywhere.
Yeah, yeah, and it's something we don't really get a lot of this kind of visual design.
No,
So it definitely stands out.
it does. My favorite was Picard's beanie, his patient beanie that he was wearing while on the table.
Got to keep his head warm,
Right.
like a newborn baby. Yeah, yes, that was nice.
My second favorite was, they put that apparatus to conceal the patient's body. It's like a tent over the body.
Yeah.
When they start to begin the surgery, the doctor goes to, they have this tool and they go to put it in on Picard's side lower abdomen, like very far below where his heart would be, in addition to being on the side of his body instead of, near the, on the upper part of it. And it's just, how are you going to get to the heart from there?
Mitch,
how?
You need to trust the science.
Oh man, because science.
I mean, don't you love science?
I heckin' love science.
Yeah,
I have a shirt that says as much.
I mean, as any good Star Trek fan should have.
Indeed, we saw them at the conventions. It's
Yeah.
I heckin' love science, and all of the E's, are replaced with the Federation insignia, which makes them look like A's, but your mind does a lot to fill in the meaning of the words.
It is amazing how the human brain works.
Indeed, it is. So how do you like the scenes of Picard and Wesley in the shuttle en route to this facility?
They're a little clumsy.
They are a little clumsy. Ham-fisted is the way I would put it. It harkens back to, and the dialogue does as well, but it harkens back to the very first episode when Wesley storms the bridge and they're tasked with writing Picard's dialogue for this, and it's just a complete bungling.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Picard just came off as like, I mean, yeah, I guess he's struggling with this issue though. He comes off a little weird, I feel like.
He does. He's just he snaps at everything Wesley says, but not in a very I don't know, sensible or realistic manner.
It feels passive aggressive.
It does. And Wesley, in some of the things he says, is pretty reasonable in the conversation he's attempting to have.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Now, there is one line that is completely unreasonable, which is got to be the award for the stupidest line in the episode. I think I wrote it down. Yeah, okay. So Picard is talking about his artificial heart, and and he mentions that the replacement heart that he has is faulty. To which Wesley Crusher, child prodigy, wise beyond his years, responds, "Why would anyone use a faulty replacement?" As if they knew.
Oh, it's fucked. Whatever. We're putting it in him. Oh well. He's gonna have to live with it. Yeah. That had to have been a mistake.
Because it makes no sense to ask that.
It reminds me of like when you get a script for like a translation project and it's all broken down piecemeal so you can't tell what the context of anything is.
Right. Yes.
That horrible line. Yeah. There was also the Picard starts recounting the story of how his heart got damaged to begin with, and Wesley says, "Is that before the Klingons joined the Federation?"
To which Picard is impressed.
Right. Yeah, very good, Wesley. And it's not hard to make the leap and figure out what they meant by that, but it's kind of a just a clumsy way to put it.
Not great writing in this scene.
not
scenes.
only did we have not great writing, but we had possibly one of the biggest, I would say, offenses to the canon.
Yeah. Do you mind
Here.
if I get on if I take the floor here?
I think you're a little more into it than I am.
Okay, well, this is one of the rare cases where we got a lot of fan mail about something, and I think the fans were quite reasonable in their anger or sense of betrayal that they felt having watched the episode. This happens in one of the Wesley Picard scenes, and Picard, who is killing some time, he goes to eat, and he makes sandwiches and a beverage, and he's like, "Oh, Wesley, do you want a sandwich? Do you want this beverage?" Now, most people, they expect, okay, it's Picard, he's going to make some tea, Earl Grey, hot.
Right.
Yes. No.
Right.
This time he makes coffee, and he offers Wesley some coffee, and that's not his tea. I wish we had an official explanation for this, but we don't. Let me be the first to apologize for this error, this gaffe. We just weren't thinking at the time. I don't want to make an excuse. There's no excuse for something like this. And I hope that despite this mistake, that the fans, the ensigns, can trust us to deliver the authentic Star Trek TNG experience with Picard 2. You guys put a lot of trust in us, and in the course of this episode, we fumbled that trust, but we're committed to improvement here. So, in honor of those affected by this, the Readier Room, us, will be donating our Patreon rake for the month to several adjacent charities, and we will do better in the future if you continue to stay readier with us.
Yes. Well said, Mitch. It's really about time someone took responsibility for this, and while it was kind of out of our hands at the time, I think we are kind of the most outstanding. Yeah, like we're kind of the preeminent authorities on Star Trek: The Next Generation right now. I can't think of anyone else in this sphere who gets the same level of engagement as us. So, we're more than happy to kind of fall on that sword.
Yes.
Someone's got to do it.
We have a lot of fun here in our Readier Room, but sometimes a little bit of seriousness is necessary when tackling these issues.
Yeah. It's a grim issue.
It's a grim issue. A grim issue.
A grim issue. It's a grim issue, nah.
Indeed it is. So
no, wait. We're not off the topic yet.
I just wanted to leave this behind. This
is
dark
it iced
time
coffee? It looks like iced coffee.
It does, but everything.
Because he pours it into a glass.
Everything looks like iced coffee in the coldness of space.
All right. Do you think it's cold in there?
I do. Now in standard definition, you couldn't really see, but it was also cold on set, and those uniforms don't leave a lot to the imagination.
Yes, I saw more of Will than I ever would have liked to.
There was the coldness of space and Captain Picard's frigid demeanor. I don't know which had a lower temperature reading.
Right. Which is even worse for Will, because he, as we've touched upon several times, he can't really distinguish between fiction and reality. So,
right.
That whole scene was actually pretty stressful for him.
But it was a happy ending, because he thought that his friendship with Patrick really deepened over the course of shooting this episode.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all's well that ends well.
We had always toyed with the idea of shooting this episode in reverse chronological order, just to, make Will think that Patrick hated him.
Oh, that would have been a trip.
Indeed. But the logistics of it were just too much. We'd have to, animate the ship, the shuttle flying backwards. It was
right. Yeah. Oh God, I can't believe that we used to do that.
Yeah. Used to being the key word there. We've improved.
Yeah.
So I guess it's time to talk about the Packlids.
The Packlids.
The Packlids, which is somehow astoundingly the focus of the episode in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Where I'm going to use the way that Rick pitched this to us, and he said that, what if the Enterprise encountered a ship of retards?
Mm-hmm.
Which was fine at the time.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
No. And, that's surely a novel situation. And, Rick had a lot of good ideas. He said, give me actual retards, and we did. If you look at some of the Packlids in the back of the ship, they clearly have some developmental disorder going on. But their distinctive way of speaking was actually informed by those extras. And some changes to the script was made to mirror how they talked a little more closely.
Right, because it was initially like a little closer to just normal English.
Right. But a lot of the more simplified verbs, like to make us go, was a key phrase that some of the extras said. My phone went off. Oh no.
Unprofessional.
And yeah, so we were happy to have them. They were happy to be there, and we never worked with them again.
No, of course not. Which is why the Packlids don't really show up again.
Do they show up in some extended universe?
Where do you think they show up?
There's gotta be a...
What do you think their most recent appearance is?
Okay.
This is a quiz.
I want to say novel, because I don't think that anybody would want to draw them in their comic book. Especially nowadays, you couldn't really get away with, that appearance. But
we do have new shows too,
Oh no. Okay. Is this on that cartoon? Star Trek.
What's the name of the cartoon?
Star Trek Lower Decks.
Yeah, they are. They are on the cartoon for several episodes, I believe.
Now, are they members of the Federation now?
I don't know. I didn't watch it. I just know they're there.
I hope that they run the exact same scam, and this Federation ship again falls for it.
Yeah, I'm getting the urge to watch that show now for some reason.
You can watch it.
Yeah, I'll watch it and report back to you.
That's a new font of well for trivia.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Packlids, they worked out really well, to a degree.
Well, the actors didn't work out so much.
Well, the thing that worried me, and I'm surprised we got away with, because the costume designers and the makeup just went all the way with this, and made the Packlids just this awful, offensive, racist caricature.
Yeah.
We gave them the eyebrows and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't get a single piece of mail, nothing from the media. I don't know. People just didn't pick up on it, which I guess is lucky.
I suppose.
But
I don't know if you know this, because you haven't seen it. Does the Lower Decks depiction of them change any of this, or do they?
I don't know. I'll have to check it out.
Because maybe it just didn't air in that country.
Maybe, but if it didn't matter then, no, that's it's the complete opposite. Everything matters more now.
Indeed. Solid, liquid, gas.
Yep.
Did you find any of the Packlid plot to be entertaining?
No. There's a scene I need to point out, or a line I need to point out.
Oh, please.
Where they first encounter the Packlids, and Riker's kind of negotiating with them to get Geordi on board. First of all, Worf brings up the issue of sending their chief engineer over to fix a simple problem.
Yes.
He says, "Do we really need to send our chief engineer?"
Yes.
And Riker's just like, "Yep." But it's like if you're not going to expand on that, why bring it into the equation at all? Because I guarantee you and I would have missed it. We would have been like, "Oh yeah, it's normal. Just send Geordi over. It's normal." But when you frame it like that, and this isn't even the line I wanted to bring up, but when you frame it like that, it just caves in on itself.
Well, I just want to say that this happens twice.
Yes.
Of
Yes.
a character who's usually wrong and or completely disregarded being completely right and nobody listening to them. So
and not only that, but in the case you're about to bring up, it's the character whose literal job is to do what she did.
yes. So Worf and Troy, both at different times, say completely reasonable advice that Riker does not heed at all. And both of these characters have a history of never having their advice taken for one reason or another.
Right. But in this episode, it's particularly blatant because the plot is just so simple. It's so clear cut that even when you're watching it play out, you're like, I know exactly what's happening.
Yep, called that.
Right. So, not long after, or maybe it's even before, I don't know, Worf is arguing with Riker about how dangerous the Pakleds could be. And he says the line, "What about weapons?"
Yes, he does. I remember this.
What about weapons, huh? And you see, that's the thing. Michael had a tough time with alliteration, as we've established already. So he got, he was supposed to say, "What about weapons?" But I guess we just did too many takes. It got to him. He got all flustered.
A real tongue twister.
And that's what we ended up with. Yeah.
What about weapons?
What about weapons? So yeah, they send Geordi over, and it's so dumb. It's so boring.
It is dumb and it is boring, and it's not
and
interesting.
It could be fun. It could be. I mean, you get a dangerous crew of spacefaring retards with like some kind of actual power behind them, and that's interesting because it's much like the Borg, where you're like, how can I possibly get through to them?
Right. It's interesting in the sense that to recognize one's own lack of intelligence and also to recognize how others perceive them because of it and how to turn that to your advantage is quite a intelligent maneuver, such that it almost seems like it'd be beyond the Pakleds, who are just, their whole identity is being retarded.
Yeah.
But also, if you did it the other way, where it's like, oh, we were only pretending to be retarded, and we're actually quite smart, and we fooled you, then there's no real recourse against them, because they're just on your level, and they fooled you. So I don't know. It's kind of like a catch-22 situation, where if I'm to believe that these guys are this retarded, then how did they make this plan to begin with?
Yeah, I suppose so. I think just in general, you never really want the antagonist of your episode to be considerably dumber than the average viewer.
Right. Which, for Star Trek is saying something.
Yeah. It was a close call, but yeah, it felt like this whole episode feels like an insult.
It is, and the way that this plot is resolved is particularly insulting.
Yeah.
So
because that could have been, I mean, we could sit here and think of a million ways that could have been resolved better, but you go ahead.
Well, what happens, and I don't even know if I'll remember this correctly because it's so contrived, but the Enterprise and Geordi working in tandem through the strangest coded communication I've ever heard, devise a plot that could not reasonably be transmitted in secret, but it is anyway. And the Packlid, it leads the Packlids to believe that they are outgunned, and the Packlids, believing this, grasping the situation entirely, feeling the fruitlessness of what the conflict would be, lay down their arms and give up immediately.
Yeah.
We
are not strong.
Right, which is just not how retards operate.
No, not at all. And in fact, some of the actual actors, with scare quotes around actors, some of the actual actors got really upset about this because they'd really thrown themselves into the role.
Mm.
And when they got the direction that you're surrendering or whatever, they started throwing a fit.
Right. It was almost a mutiny.
Yeah, a retard mutiny.
Well, because they could whip up the extras into a frenzy, and good luck calming them down.
A mutiny of retards, like a murder of crows.
Oh, jeez. Now, the funniest line in the episode, to me, occurs during this coded exchange between Geordi on the Packlid ship and the Enterprise. Which it involves Worf, who Geordi, I forget exactly what Geordi's saying, but something to the effect of, like, oh, if you're not going to save me, then I'm going to have to fire the Packlid weapons at you. And Worf says, you'll die in that effort. And then he looks knowingly at Geordi and says, you will die without honor. Which just tickled me so much. I can't explain why it was funny. But it was just how ridiculous the situation was, how ridiculous Worf is in general.
I like to imagine it was kind of like a little dig. Like he's making fun of him.
Yeah, I like that.
Because I'm sure he did it with that stupid smirk on his face. Like he always has.
Oh yes, he did.
I love it.
And
this is why Worf might be my favorite character.
Worf is certainly adorable. He's just silly all the time.
Yeah, he's just ridiculous.
When
oh shit!
If it's a simple situation, he always looks confused. If it's a serious situation, he always has like an unknowing grin.
Yeah, it's just perfect. It's perfect for the way we watch this show.
It is. It is. We'll have to have a best of Worf compilation reel drawn up.
The best of the Worf.
The Worf of the worlds.
So, well, that really exhausts that plot line. I think the only thing we really need to talk about now is the fact that no, we talked about that. We talked about Pulaski beaming down to save Picard.
Well, what happens is that the Enterprise finishes with the Packlids and then just speeds over at warp 9. Yeah. And I'll talk about this a lot. I really hate how arbitrary traveling at warp speed feels, because and I think I've mentioned it before, I'll mention it again, characters just arbitrarily decide, okay, let's go at warp 4. Oh wait, we have to be there sooner, let's go at warp 7. Just always go at warp 9. Like, what the hell?
So okay, here's my headcanon, and it's probably something you can find on Memory Alpha that'll be pretty similar. Going faster uses more resources.
Yeah, but resources never ever matter. Ever. Not once is just the Enterprise have a fueling issue.
I don't know if that's true, but I understand the sentiment.
It's like I said, it just seems arbitrary. If you could present this, like have the fuel matter once in an episode, where like, oh my god, we've it happened one time. They were chased by the Borg, and they were like, oh, we're pushing warp 9. We have enough fuel for however long. I don't know. It just seems dumb.
I'm looking it up.
How do you look this up?
Why don't they always go warp 9?
What do you got?
It was okay. There's a few answers here. Imposed speed limit
No way.
It was established that certain areas of space are negatively affected by warp drives, and so a speed limit of warp 5 was imposed, except in extreme circumstances.
Oh, you know what? That was in an episode. Do you remember that? It was
no,
like
I don't.
There was an episode where it had an environmentalist bent, and some people came on the Enterprise and were like, this high traffic sector of space is the fabric of it is being destroyed because of all the warp engines passing through. Wow. I don't know why speed matters there because you're still using a warp engine, but sure.
Again, the dilithium that it requires.
Oh, the dilithium crystals.
Wear and tear, right? It's like overclocking your PC, whatever that means. And obviously that kills it a lot faster. So you're going to be killing your engines if you use Warp 9 all the time. And then this guy says timeliness, just a matter of context as to like how soon you have to arrive somewhere, I guess.
That's the weakest of all the, like, what are they, wizards? They have to arrive precisely when they mean to?
Yeah, but it's like, if you have an engagement that you can arrive in a couple of days, why bother getting there in like 12 hours?
Have you never arrived early to a party?
Not a day and a half early.
I have. There's nothing.
I mean,
there's no
unless you count that time at Best Buy.
There's no more stronger feeling of power than sitting on the couch with a drink somebody served you and watching them set up for the party later that night. It's like it's like they're your maid or something.
Now I'm starting to understand why Brent doesn't invite us anywhere.
You do it one time and people just remember it forever. They don't remember all the times you help them, but
This answer was provided by Jack B. Nimble.
Yes, it was.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Jack B. Nimble.
Oh, on the answer you looked up.
Yes.
I see.
Not.
I thought you brokered a new sponsorship you didn't tell me about.
No, but we do have sponsorships to get through at the end, right?
We do. What do
we have today?
Are you that excited for the podcast to end?
Well, no. I'm just curious. I don't have the papers in front of me.
Right, well, okay. We got Dunkin' Donuts, and we have where's the other one? It was Jack in the Box. Both fast
not
food.
Jack B. Nimble.
No, that's just a coincidence.
Okay.
But I do think that Jack in the Box is unveiling their new Jack B. Nimble box, which is kind of like a ready-to-go hot order meal.
This is serendipitous. Look at this.
It is. Perhaps.
So what's in the Jack B. Nimble?
Well, it's a morning thing. It's a breakfast item.
Right.
It's a hot.
It gets you going.
Right. It's a hot box of food that you can get quickly, eat quickly, and be ready to go. It's got a hash brown, not like the little popcorn hash browns, but the flat,
but
puck.
A proper one.
Right.
Yeah.
It's got that and a sausage egg wrap in it. Not a sandwich, but a wrap. So basically, both of these things you can hold one in one hand, one in the other, and it's very easy to eat on the go. You come in one box, and it's nice.
You're forgetting the deluxe Jack B. Nimble, though.
Right. Well, obviously, there's a deluxe option. The deluxe option comes with a cup of coffee or tea. You can choose, and it also comes with a singular bacon swirl, kind of like the bacon equivalent of a curly fry.
Right. And the meat economy is kind of in a rut right now, so you'll have to excuse the price difference. But
right, if you want the normal Jack B. Nimble, that's $4.99, and the Jack B. Nimble Deluxe, that's $9.99. Local taxes.
We're not doing a spot for Shave Croc today.
Shave Croc is every other podcast.
Okay. Shave. Okay.
I'm just gonna.
Okay.
They didn't pay, so I'm gonna edit that out.
Yeah. Okay. Just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I feel like we might as well end it because there's nothing else to talk about, is there?
Well, we can talk about our thoughts on the episode, I guess, overall.
I guess we could. I do want to point out that I mean I had to write this down, but in the shuttle ride, Wesley and Picard, Wesley felt like he was really fishing for compliments.
Yeah, I guess he was, wasn't he?
You know, it was a little, thingy little bitch.
He's, he seeks approval, especially from Captain Picard, whom he respects.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, recently I watched The First Duty recently. Do you know that episode? You remember it?
The First Duty.
Yeah. Not like when you have a newborn, but...
The First Duty.
Yes. So
no, I don't remember that at all.
That's the one where Picard visits Wesley Crusher at the academy, and Wesley Crusher's flight team did some bullshit maneuver, and one of them died, and there's like a tribunal investigation.
Right.
Yeah, it was a pretty good episode, and it's kind of the conclusion to the Picard-Wesley relationship that really blossoms in this episode.
I guess, now that we're kind of approaching the point where Wesley starts to fall off the show.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to miss him.
Yeah, I buy that. I had also, I don't know why I'm on such a Wesley kick, I had watched Wesley Crusher's final episode before leaving the main cast. What did I say?
Wesley Crusher's Big Gay Adventure.
Big gay out. Which is
that's the one where he gets like stranded somewhere, right, with Picard?
Yeah, him, Picard, and some new character that's like a captain of a ship that was ferrying them, and they're on like some desert planet, and they gotta find water. It was also a pretty good episode. Wesley Crusher is just not a bad character.
Like that, yeah. That's and it's a shame because he's not a bad character, and I don't even hate the way Will portrays him or anything. He's rough around the edges, but he was also a kid, so whatever. He's shoehorned into things he shouldn't be.
Yes, but I think our common complaint of Wesley single-handedly saving the day kind of fell off about 3/4 through season 1. And now,
it did. It absolutely did.
And now it's just pretty reasonable. But people,
I think so too.
Remember that very strongly, which colors their perception of the character.
And I think that's probably why I came into this thinking. You remember before we started this, I didn't remember having a problem with Wesley, and that's probably just because I forgot most of season 1.
Right. Similarly,
but
people who hate Wesley probably remember season 1 too much.
Right, which is never a good thing.
No.
In fact, no one should be watching season 1.
No, we've established that. We've proven that.
Yes, empirically.
So thoughts on the episode?
Thoughts on the episode. It's not the worst episode.
No.
It's... God damn, I say this every time, but it's like something that could have been good that just got really, really screwed up. There's elements in here that I like. There's scenes in here that I like. So it's hard to say, like, don't ever watch this again. But it's boring.
Yeah.
It's just the what you might call the A plot with the aliens is horrible.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I agree in a lot of respects. I don't see so much potential here as I do with some of the other episodes. Like, obviously you could do this better, but it's not a concept that really resonates with me as truly being something special. So if they bungled it, which they did, whatever. But it's probably like a 40 percentile episode. And that's fine. They can't all be winners. It's a fine watch, especially if you haven't seen it before. And you'll probably forget about it, and that's okay. It's still season 2. The things are still developing along. It's probably what I would deem as the bottom range of acceptable for an episode at this time to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I would agree with that. Sounds about right.
Yeah, it's got a lot of problems, but it's not offensive.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
do you want to go into the Dunkin' Donuts not question of the week, Dunkin' Donuts trivia challenge?
Oh, do you have it? It's my trivia challenge sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure. Jesus.
You know when
Don't forget to buy the check out the pumpkin spice, the almond drizzle, the caramel sundae surprise at participating Dunkin' Donuts. This is gonna last until December 5th.
at all participating locations.
All participating locations. I love Dunkin' Donuts. It's my go-to in the morning when I need a pick-me-up, which is every day, of course. So, Starbucks, too expensive, too full of itself, right? Dunkin' Donuts is where the real locals go.
It's time to make the donuts.
I appreciate that they lock their bathrooms unless you buy something, because I don't want anyone else going in there but me. America runs on Dunkin'. I want to do a little bit of a thought. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, did you know that they've dropped donuts from their brand name? It's just Dunkin' now.
It was just Dunkin' now, yeah.
Right. Like
they told us we could still use Dunkin' Donuts for the next the next year or so.
Well, it's still in popular culture. It's just not officially recognized.
Right. In Europe, they call them Dunkin' Coffee.
Really?
Yeah. Which just that raises the question of why even bother with Dunkin' to begin with if you're not going to alliterate it.
In Japan, they go by Mr. Donuts.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So what's your trivia for me?
So I want to do a little bit of a thought experiment. I don't know. It's not really trivia today, but I want to do a little bit of a thought experiment, kind of like a question of the week, but like a end cap.
I'm always into experimentation.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You love experimenting. What is the crew of the Enterprise going to dress up as for Halloween?
Oh, that is a good thought experiment. That is question of the week esque, but I will allow it because it's a very timely question.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a certain subsection of the bridge crew that does not tolerate Halloween, and I would put that as Worf and Picard.
But, yeah, so they're gonna have to be kind of forced into like a low effort sort of costume.
Exactly, and Picard, I think, in not really grasping the spirit of Halloween, would dress up as some like holodeck. You know what he would be? He would be what is his guy, like Dick Masterson, his detective?
Dick Masterson. Maddox, I think.
I don't know, whatever his detective alter ego is.
Yeah. Yes, that is because he's done it before. He's familiar with it. It makes him comfortable.
Right. So to him, it's barely dressing up.
Right.
Whereas Worf would, I think Worf would be in his Enterprise uniform, but instead of his silver sash, he would have a sash of a different color and be like, "No, now I'm a Klingon of of this rank instead of this rank," And like, it's a costume.
I could see Worf going the extra mile though, and maybe getting like a pair of cat ears.
Now, is this a realistic thought, or is this just your fantasy?
It might just be my fantasy.
Wishful thinking. Now, Riker's the wild card because that he would be gung ho and go all out for this.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you also know that it would be off-putting in some way.
He's gonna show as much skin as possible.
Yes, literally go as Adonis.
Right.
Be oblivious to how his beer belly looks in such a costume.
Yes, that's perfect.
But yeah, his only costume would be a wreath around his head and a strategically placed leaf.
Yep. I think he would do a robe.
Yeah, like a toga.
Yeah, but keep it open.
Well, you know what they say: toga where no man has gone before.
Yeah. That is what they say.
Yeah. I think Crusher would be pretty boring. She would just have the costume of an old-timey doctor, maybe from around our time.
Yep.
It's like, oh, the coat's white instead of blue. Data, in his enthusiasm but inability to grasp Halloween, I think that he would use his android body to his advantage and make like a really gory, realistic looking maimed version of himself. Where maybe his head is like falling off and like one of his eyes is coming out of its socket, and it's scary and it's gross and it's a costume, but it just terrifies every single person who sees it at the Halloween party.
It's an interesting idea, but I feel like I could also see him going the classic route and just being like a stereotypical vampire or something.
Yeah, that's true. Like, I downloaded all this information on Halloween, and he's got these plastic fangs and
yeah,
just a cape that's over his uniform.
Right, exactly. Yes. Just because it's such a popular choice.
I think Geordi could go two ways. Either Geordi would be just kind of embarrassed because he's kind of he's not the most socially confident guy about wearing a costume, or he might just have some kind of pop culture thing like, oh, I'm Cyborg from the X-Men because I have my visor, and
right.
I'm sorry, I'm Black Cyborg.
Right.
Yeah.
Geordi's a hard one to pin down.
He is, and it's not just because he's so small.
Right.
Now, I think Troy would just have like sexy whatever slutty Halloween costume.
Yeah, I feel like Troy would piggyback on Riker.
Yeah, they would definitely have a pair look.
Yeah.
So they'd both be like half-naked Greek people.
Yar would dress as a zombie.
That's pretty good. Yep. Is there any other member of the crew? Wesley Crusher. Wesley Crusher would just be some like obnoxious property, like someone else's IP. It's like, oh
yeah, he'd be some dumb little dork thing.
Yeah, it's like he's got the plastic mask on.
Yeah.
I think that's everybody, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, what about Guinan?
Oh, Guinan. She's already in a Halloween costume.
Yeah, she goes as Whoopi Goldberg.
I can't I don't really know who Guinan is anymore.
Yeah, I mean, she's got tiger blood if her fighting pose offers any indication.
Right. So it's like I don't even know what she thinks about in her free time.
No. I watched the episode where Guinan becomes a child alongside some of the other.
Oh, jeez.
And Guinan, for some reason, is like very gung-ho about just playing, even though she still has her adult mind. She's like, oh, I'm gonna go jump on the bed and do all this stuff. So I could see Guinan like being into Halloween.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, she could get into it.
Maybe she just has a classic costume like a mummy or something.
Yeah, I feel like she'd go classic too.
And that's it. That's everyone.
That's it.
Byron,
long-awaited question.
by remembering all of the members of the crew, I have gotten this trivia question correct.
That's it. That's it. Good job.
All right, so that's going to do it for this week. I want to remind everyone at home that no matter what you're looking for, whether it be a hot meal, a cool beverage, or just a home away from home, you can always go to Jack in the Box. And whenever you need a pick-me-up in the morning, remember that America runs on Dunkin'. Join us next week where we dive into another episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. And until then, everybody, please stay ready.
The troublesome little man-child.
Consider that in the history of many worlds, there have always been disposable creatures.
Do you consider yourself superior to us?
Should have told him to mind his own damn business.
When I stroke the beard thusly, do I not appear more intellectual?
Computer! Freeze program.
It's not a promising beginning.